We get started? Good morning, everyone. My name's Katie McFadden. I'm proud to be with you all today on behalf of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition to introduce the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act. Before we dive into why the SURJA Act, is the next necessary step in Illinois' transition to a clean energy economy, I want to remind folks about who we are. The Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition is made up of hundreds of environmental advocacy organizations, businesses, youth organizations, consumer advocates, faith-based organizations, environmental justice communities, all that are working together to improve public health and the environment, all while protecting consumers to create an equitable, clean energy economy across the state. In a state where energy laws used to be written by utility companies, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, our special interest is the public interest. We craft energy policy with ratepayers in mind. We mobilize communities in support of energy policies that put our health first and the climate first. And we work alongside climate champions like Governor J.B. Pritzker, Representative Ann Williams, who's here with us today, Senator Bill Cunningham, and other leaders who are committed to ensuring that our long-term energy plans are grounded in equity, consumer protection, and climate action. We worked to pass the Future Energy Jobs Act in 2016 and the nation-leading Climate and Equitable Jobs Act in 2021. And now we're back again. The Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act is the next necessary step in Illinois' transition to a clean energy economy. Thanks to ICJC, we are on the right path in a managed transition away from expensive, polluting fossil fuels. Nonetheless, our power grid is facing new and unprecedented challenges. Our power grid is struggling to keep up with a surge in demand for energy, largely caused by new data centers. In addition, regional transmission organizations like PJM and MISO are 5 years behind schedule in connecting energy projects to a grid that could power millions of homes with clean, affordable electricity. As a result, Illinois' electric customers are increasingly threatened with unexpected price spikes. Our power grid may struggle to maintain reliability as extreme weather intensifies and Illinois' climate progress is at risk. It's time to take the next step to protect consumers and accelerate our progress towards our clean energy goals. And the SURJA Act does just that. It offers a comprehensive suite of common sense solutions to meet the challenges facing our electric grid while prioritizing affordability for consumers and businesses, grid resiliency, and climate. Here to tell you more is climate champion and bill sponsor, Representative Ann Williams.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, all. I'm Representative Ann Williams, and I represent Chicago's 11th District. Over the past several years, we in Illinois have put the work in to make us a leader in terms of climate policy. As you may know and recall, 3.5 years ago, we passed the nation-leading Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, which we called ICJC, which set Illinois on a path to 100% clean energy and has really become a national model. We are making great strides, but we're sure not done yet. With every passing day, the stakes really are getting higher to protect consumers, keep our power grid strong, and protect our climate from the escalating climate crisis. In just the first weeks of his administration, Trump has made it clear he plans to roll back federal funding and programs that support clean energy progress. This is of great concern to all of us here in Illinois. But we are not going back, and we are pushing forward. Illinois can and will continue to lead on climate policy, regardless of the administration's focus on giving away expensive benefits to the outdated and out-of-date fossil fuel industry. Even the industry itself recognizes their time has come and gone. We will continue to implement ICJC, which includes short and long-term goals to replace expensive and polluting fossil fuel sources with clean energy resources across the board. That's better for our energy bills, better for our electric bills, and of course for our climate. So, the bill we're talking about today, SURJA, the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act, will help us achieve these goals even faster. I stand today with the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, my colleagues in the Illinois General Assembly, advocates throughout the state and the governor's office to push legislation forward which builds off the successes of CJA and takes the next step we need to keep our grids strong and our energy affordable. The SURJA Act will strengthen energy efficiency, remove barriers to clean energy development, make smart investments in battery storage, and require municipal utilities and rural electric co-ops to complete transparent energy planning. These are critical pieces of moving forward with our energy policy in Illinois. Our working group in the House and Senate, we are committed to continued ensuring that we're able to bring these policies across the finish line in spring 2025. So we're not too far from seeing this into fruition. And as the Trump administration works to destroy all the progress we've made at the state and federal level, and even globally, Illinois lawmakers must continue to take decisive action to move Illinois forward. And this is on behalf of the people, communities of Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Next up, I'd like to introduce Sarah Moskowitz, Executive Director of Citizens Utility Board, who will share more about the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act and what it does for consumers.
Thanks, Katie. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Moskowitz, and I am Executive Director at the Citizens Utility Board. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan consumer advocacy group working for lower utility bills in Illinois. CUB supports the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act because it is urgently needed legislation that is good for our power grid and good for our power bills. The 2021 Climate and Equitable Jobs Act was a historic step towards 100% clean, affordable energy for Illinois. The Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act builds on CJA's progress while responding to new and unprecedented challenges to our electric bills. Unfortunately, surging demand, largely caused by new data centers, combined with poor policy decisions from PJM and MISO, the regional organizations that run our power grid, have sparked escalating bills, including a price spike that will hit ComEd customers like myself this June. The power grid operators that serve Illinois, PJM and MISO, are failing us right now. They are years behind schedule in connecting clean energy projects that could supply Illinois consumers with plenty of affordable energy. When ComEd customers pay higher electricity prices this June, make no mistake, it's because of poor policy from PJM. Fortunately, CJA here in Illinois has helped by offsetting some of that increase and bringing significant amounts of new, cost-effective, and reliable power onto our power grid. But our work is not done. That's why we need our state to take action again to meet these new challenges and pass the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act now. The bill is about strengthening our power grid and lowering power bills. It would increase access to money-saving energy efficiency programs and time-of-use rates, open the door to transmission line improvements, protect the rights of municipal and co-op utility customers by introducing transparent energy planning and equal access to the benefits of solar, and promote battery storage as a way to store wind and solar power until those times when the grid needs it the most. And importantly, it will also direct utilities to propose rules for data centers to reduce strain on the grid and ensure consumers don't bear the brunt of costs related to these energy-intensive facilities. Illinois consumers are now facing unprecedented threats to their electric bills, and the cost of inaction will be high. We urgently need legislators to rise to the occasion and take the critical steps to bolster our power system and protect utility customers. The Citizens Utility Board, along with our partners in the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, strongly urges the state legislature to take action this spring and pass the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Lastly, I'd like to introduce Gina Ramirez, board member and senior advisory of the Southeast Environmental Task Force, who will share more about why the protections in SERJA are so needed, especially amidst the surge in energy demand, largely from data centers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gina Ramirez. I am the Senior Advisor and Board Member of the Southeast Environmental Task Force, a frontline community and Southeast advocacy group on the south side of Chicago. As a frontline activist, I've been closely watching the increasing number of data centers in environmental justice communities. Without guardrails in place, these data centers could pose significant problems to our grid, consumers, and local communities. The Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act includes those critical guardrails while also shielding everyday Illinoisans from volatile price spikes. It's no secret that these vast, energy-hungry facilities are coming to our neighborhoods, and while they promise progress, economic benefits, and technological advancements, they also pose risks to the electric grid and place a huge pollution burden on neighborhoods that are already surrounded by toxic industry. We all know that when major developments like this come into our neighborhoods, they don't happen in a vacuum. They affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land we live on. For too many years, our communities have been asked to bear the burden of industrial growth, often without the protections or benefits that should come with it. Data centers consume huge amounts of electricity that often comes from sources that contribute to pollution and climate change. Especially if the retirement plans of dirty plants are delayed, the impacts of bringing back these dirty energy sources to power up data centers would have devastating impacts on communities like the southeast side of Chicago. These data centers, with their enormous energy demands, could also drive up costs, leaving the most vulnerable among us paying the price. I've heard too many stories from neighbors who can barely make ends meet, whose utility bills already stretch their budgets thin. What happens when these large-scale consumers of energy increase the strain on our grid? What happens to our electric bills? Let's be clear, we are not against progress. We are not against technology. We are not against development, but we are for justice. We are for communities that benefit, not just tolerate these changes. If these data centers are truly to serve the public, they must do so in a way that centers the needs of people already living there. Given their impact on the grid and consumers, data centers should be held accountable for achieving a clean and affordable electric grid. The Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act addresses the reliability and sustainability threats posed by data centers with a set of common sense guardrails. First and foremost, the SERJA Act directs data centers to bring their own energy. In other words, data centers would be required to develop plans to bring additional clean energy resources to power their facilities at all hours of the day and propose regulations for environmental standards for their facilities. Environmental justice communities like mine should be able to participate in the planning process. We have the right to know how these projects will impact our health, our safety, and our future. We have the right to hold these companies accountable to the highest standards for environmental protections and labor rights. With the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act, Illinois can continue to lead the nation on our climate and equity goals by facing the new and emerging threats to our electric grid. I ask all of you, community members, local leaders, and policymakers to stand with us to ensure that data centers do not come at the expense of our neighborhoods, our health, or our pocketbooks, to accelerate our path to 100% clean energy so that our communities can breathe easier. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And just to close, I'd like to thank the working group for their efforts to craft and pass policies that accelerate clean energy deployment, technologies like energy efficiency and battery storage, which are cost-effective and strengthen our energy grid. Amidst national chaos and an increase in extreme weather events intensified by climate change, it's more important than ever that Illinois continue to lead on climate and equity. The Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition is committed to ensuring that our climate and our equity goals prioritize consumers and ensure price stability, and the SERJA Act does just that. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from
Katie,
us.
or maybe Leader Williams, obviously last week, Leader Cunningham, Leader Evans were here, I believe, to talk about the same topic. Maybe you can tell me how the two bills differ, and do you anticipate a similar negotiation to CJA, to carbon capture last year? How do you anticipate this process going?
Do you want to talk process and then I can talk?
Thanks for the question. We have learned a lot in the last few years because we worked on these comprehensive energy bills in a similar format to we started on CJA. So we're getting good at it. So we have a bicameral group. We have the governor's office very heavily involved in the discussions. I think we're to the point that we agree about the problem. We agree about the topics that we need to focus on moving forward. And now it's just a matter of hearing from stakeholders, hearing from communities, hearing from our residents about how they'd like the clean energy future to look moving forward in terms of these pressures on the grid. So we are already developing plans for working groups, subgroups, reconvening weekly, actually, here in Springfield to really move forward and hopefully have a package ready by the end of session.
What are some of the points of disagreement?
It's too early, I think, to be outlining those specific areas, but as we touched on today, some of the big hot topics are storage, transmission, and really ramping up our energy efficiency programming. And, you know, data centers are a big energy draw. It's something we're all talking about, but there's some real common sense, pragmatic solutions that we have in our bill, and we're hopeful that those will make it across the finish line. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Katie.
I think the only thing I'll add is what I said in my remarks, right? The Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, our special interest is the public interest. And so we crafted these knowing, you know, that the groups that we're working with are consumer advocates, environmental advocates, justice advocates. And so we wanted to put forward what we see as the true comprehensive solutions. And the leader's right. I mean, that means we sometimes are in agreement with some of the interests that you named. And we're looking forward to working out the process through the working group to a bill that truly addresses all of the problems in front of us and isn't just a piecemeal solution, but is as kind of as big and comprehensive as the moment asks for. Question?
So, does the bill increase energy efficiency for both Ameren and ComEd? And if so, by how much?
Yes, it does. Is there somebody who wants to speak to the energy efficiency programs up here?
Hi, I'll Carrie Ross with the Natural Resources Defense Council. Yes, we are proposing in this bill increases for energy savings goals for both ComEd and Ameren. ComEd is performing at a higher energy savings level currently, which was passed in CJA. And so one really great part of the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act is ensuring that Ameren and ComEd will both be performing at 2% of energy savings across the board. So that will be a larger increase for Ameren, as we know, but it's really important to the coalition to ensure that Northern Illinoisans, Central and Southern Illinoisans are all receiving the same level of energy efficiency support.
Just a question on some of the guardrails that you want to put on data centers. Pritzker's openly said he wants Illinois to become more of an AI hub. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't these guardrails be against kind of what Pritzker wants?
I think, you know, Gina said it best. We're not against progress. We're not against technology. Our proposal for guardrails is pretty simple, right? Data centers must bring 100% of the energy that they're going to use in new generation here in our state. That energy should be 100% clean, and data centers should shoulder 100% of the added costs that they add to the grid. So we think that those are really common sense solutions that are very reasonable, and we look forward to pursuing those.
Legislators in recent years have enacted tax breaks for data centers. I think the governor has made it a point to want to attract those businesses by requiring them to basically bring in all of their energy. Is that maybe kind of working against that, kind of discouraging those businesses from locating in Illinois? You know, that's not our intention, and we're also not the only state that's looking at policies like this, and we're also not the first. We wouldn't be the first if we passed this in May to enact it. So we think, again, by recognizing the additional load that these centers bring, and you know, mandating that they bring that in, that they do so in a way that's in line with our already existing clean energy laws on the books, and that we're not making consumers pay the price, is a really fair operating space to be in for our state.
Just to clarify as well, clean would include nuclear, correct?
And in terms of our definition right now, we're talking about just renewable energy.
Just solar, wind, geothermal?
That is what we support, yes.
And so the bill also calls for virtual power plants. What would those power sources be? Like home solar panels, like EVs, smart thermostats, like what?
Yeah, and battery technology.
Okay. And battery proprietary technology as well?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Maybe somebody can explain in just in layman's terms, I guess why the grid has to be kind of transformed to bring all this new wind and solar online, and why it's different from say past sources such as coal plants, natural gas. Why is so much new transmission needed to support these new renewable energy sources?
Sure. So demand for energy is growing at an unprecedented rate right now. This is largely in part to data center surge, like we talked about, and these data centers are extremely energy intensive. I would say to the earlier part of your question, we're not increasing, we're still based on the CJA goals and the CJA premise. The main change maybe that you're looking at is the energy modeling and planning office that we create in this bill. And I'll just remind you that most states do energy modeling and planning every 2 years. And so we, as a deregulated state here in Illinois, we were, in 2021 we passed CJA, but we're very due. Waiting 4 years to update our energy policies is pretty unheard of in any other state. And so the way that we've chosen to do energy policy in Illinois is through these pieces of legislation, and frankly, just in keeping up with what the grid needs, what our state needs, what demand and supply look like, we're in need. Any other questions?
Yeah, the bill also calls for an office of energy modeling.
Yeah.
What information would that give us that we're not currently getting outside of like RTOs and stuff?
Sure, yeah. If we want to dig a little bit deeper, I might call on my colleague, John Delury.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Thanks for the question, and thanks for diving deep into the bill. So the Office of Energy Modeling is a new office within the Illinois Power Agency. They do some of this procurement planning in advance. They start to think about what they need to start negotiating and buying for the people of Illinois. But unlike our neighboring states, which do these long-term 10, 15-year energy resource planning processes, Illinois doesn't. We don't have vertically integrated utilities. And so by building up this Office of Energy Modeling and starting to do a clean resource plan, which is also a new element in our bill, we can start to figure out how we avoid getting hit with the big price spikes that Sarah mentioned that are coming from the RTOs, like PJM and MISO. So we can start to adjust what we're incentivizing, when and where in the state, to ensure we're building that least cost portfolio of resources, that our incentives are all laser focused on cleaning the grid and maintaining affordability. And so it starts to fine tune our procurements. If it's cheapest to build a bunch of virtual power plants and some large scale storage and a little more wind, that's what that resource plan through the Office of Modeling will start to show. So it's all about bending the grid towards that least cost portfolio before the RTOs start to hit us with additional fees.
Okay, and will there be any additional information available to the public through this, or like?
Yeah, we've designed a very transparent process that allows different stakeholders to weigh in, to have some constructive disagreement about what that optimized, least cost, clean, and affordable route is. And so that is shining a new light on how we get from here to 100% clean. Oh, please.
I just wanted to add one note because a couple of the questions touched on the relationship between some of the stakeholders and our commitment as a state to bring in new business and innovative business to Illinois. I think we've really evolved our discussions to be less adversarial and more about a partnership. So for example, with the data center piece, it's like going to a potluck. What are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to bring when you come to this dinner? So we're asking the data centers to participate by bringing the energy costs, and that's to ease the burden on consumers. But I think, again, I'm an optimist, and I've learned from the last few energy negotiations I've been a part of, that we can have, as John said, constructive disagreements, and that we can end up with an agreed package that works for Illinoisans, brings economic development to our state in a way that's clean and responsible. And that's the beauty of a state like Illinois. We're not dealing with some of the challenges there on the federal level, while we're receiving a lot of those things flowing down to us, unfortunately, that are creating more challenges here in Illinois. We are committed to moving forward as partners. So I just wanted to make sure and emphasize that point.
We have time for one more question if there's anything left. If not, yeah, go ahead.
Given that they're kind of already going down that road already, will data center companies be given the opportunity to get credit for providing their own energy if they choose to do that with new nuclear?
What do you mean credit?
I mean, so there's a requirement in the bill.
Oh, I see.
for
As
them to-
written right now, we define clean as just how the state defines clean, so renewable energy, wind and solar.
Would you be open to expanding that?
We're looking forward to the working group and negotiations.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Have a
Thank
good rest of
you.
your day.